"There's no cake left for your son," said my sister-in-law Patricia, generously serving slices of $80 strawberry pie to her 2 children, while my 6-year-old watched with those hopeful eyes that all children have at birthday parties. She didn't even look at Lucas when she said that. She just pushed a plate with a few crumbs on it in our direction, as if she were feeding a stray dog that had shown up at the door. "Maybe next time you can bring something for him," added my brother Roberto, taking a sip of craft beer that cost $20 a bottle, without taking his eyes off his cell phone. I was sitting in the impeccably decorated living room of their house in Alphaville, surrounded by furniture that cost more than my 3-month salary, watching my son chew crumbs while his cousins ate French pastries. My name is Gabriel, but everyone calls me Gab. At 32, I am the single father of Lucas and apparently, the eternal problem child of the family, the one who always needs help but never deserves to be treated with dignity. For 5 years, since Lucas's mother abandoned us, I have been my family's emotional punching bag. When Roberto lost his job last year, I lent him 8,000 reais from my savings. When Patricia had postpartum depression, I took care of her children for 3 months without receiving so much as a thank you. When my parents needed to renovate their house, guess who paid for half of it? I've always been the reliable brother, the one who solves problems, the one who never says no. But I've also always been the one who gets less, who is forgotten, who shows up at parties and sits in the corner because I can't afford to wear the same designer clothes they wear. That Saturday afternoon, I arrived at my nephew Theo's 5th birthday party carrying a gift that cost 200 reais, practically my entire week's lunch money. Lucas was excited, wearing the blue dress shirt we got on sale and styling his hair with gel just like his dad. "Daddy, do you think there will be those sweets that Auntie always makes?" he asked in the car, swinging his legs in the back seat of my 2005 Corsa. I promised there would be. I promised there would be cake, sweets, soda, everything a child expects at a party. I promised because I believed that, regardless of all our differences, family was family. And family doesn't let a 6-year-old go without at a birthday party. But as I watched Patricia cut generous slices for her own children and a few select guests, I realized something I should have noticed long ago. I was never treated like family. I was just the convenient brother, useful for emergencies and loans, but expendable when it came to consideration and respect. Lucas didn't cry. He just whispered, "It's okay, Dad," and started playing with the colorful napkins, making up stories to take his mind off his hunger. But I saw it. I saw the disappointment in his eyes. I saw the way he looked at his cousins eating cake and then at his own empty plate. At that moment, while my family continued to talk about trips to Miami and new cars, completely ignoring our presence, I made a decision that would change everything. They didn't know it, but that would be the last time they would see me as the submissive and convenient brother. If you're enjoying this story of how a simple slice of cake turned into a lesson my family would never forget, be sure to subscribe to the channel, because what happened after this party completely changed the family dynamic that had existed for more than 3 decades. Because sometimes, when you least expect it, the quietest person in the room is the one who is watching, cataloging, and planning every move with the patience of someone who knows their time will come. The party continued as if nothing had happened. Roberto went back to scrolling through his Instagram feed, showing photos from the last few weekends at luxury resorts he frequented with the money I had lent him 6 months earlier. Patricia smoothed her platinum blonde hair, freshly done at the most expensive salon in town, and continued handing out slices of cake to the important guests. Lucas remained seated next to me, making up stories with the colorful napkins, pretending he wasn't hungry. Every now and then he would look at me with that forced smile that children make when they don't want to worry their parents. "Daddy, can I have some water?" he whispered. Before I could answer, Patricia shouted from the kitchen, "Gab, if your boy wants something, you know where the tap is in the laundry room." The laundry room. While the other guests drank imported organic juice, served in crystal glasses. My mother, Donna Marissa, was sitting in the Italian leather armchair, holding Patricia's youngest child on her lap, caressing him and humming children's songs. The same affection she never had time to give Lucas. The same lap that was always busy when my son needed it. "Grandma, look what I drew at school." Lucas ran up to her an hour earlier, holding out a colorful drawing of our family. "Not now, dear, Grandma is talking," she replied without even looking at the paper, continuing her conversation about the new Filipino maid Roberto had hired. The drawing was left on the floor. I discreetly picked it up and put it in my pocket. Roberto wasn't always like that. When we were kids, I was the protective older brother, the one who fought at school when someone messed with him. I was 3 years older, so I naturally became his shield against the world. When he wanted to go to business school but didn't pass the entrance exam, I paid for his prep course. When he graduated but couldn't find a job, I recommended him for a position at the company where I worked. When he met Patricia at a party and she got pregnant in the second month of dating, I helped organize the wedding in a hurry and even paid for the honeymoon in Cancun. When they wanted to buy a house in Alphaville but didn't have the down payment, I lent them 15,000 reais for my savings. And when Roberto lost his job last year for arriving late every day, something I warned him would happen, I lent him another 8,000 so he wouldn't lose the house. But somewhere along the way, my generosity turned into an obligation. My willingness to help became synonymous with being a doormat. And Roberto started treating me not as an older brother, but as a private bank with legs. Patricia was worse. She didn't hide her contempt for me. To her, I represented everything Roberto could have become if he hadn't been lucky enough to have a rich family. She conveniently forgot that our family wasn't rich. I was the one working 60 hours a week to support everyone's standard of living. "You should think about getting a girlfriend, Gab," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear as she cut another piece of cake for her eldest son. "Lucas needs a mother figure. A child can't grow up with just a father." The silence that followed was heavy. Everyone knew that Lucas's mother had abandoned us when he was only 2 years old. We simply woke up one morning and she was gone, leaving only a note saying that she wasn't ready to be a mother, and that she needed to find herself. For 4 years, I raised my son alone. I woke up at 5 in the morning to make breakfast and drop him off at daycare. I worked all day, picked him up at 6 in the evening, came home, made dinner, gave him a bath, told him stories, and put him to bed. Weekends were spent at parks, zoos, and movie theaters, always just the two of us. Lucas never complained about not having a mother because I tried to be both father and mother at the same time. And I succeeded. He was a happy, polite, affectionate, and intelligent child. But at my parents' and brother's house, Lucas was always treated like the poor little boy without a mother. As if he were less important than Patricia's perfect children, who had a complete family and a big house. "Patricia is right," my mother agreed, rocking her blonde grandson in her lap. "Lucas needs stability. A real family. A real family. As if the two of us weren't a real family. Maybe if you didn't spend so much money on expensive gifts for the children," Roberto commented, pointing to the wrapped box Lucas had brought, "you'd have more left over to spruce yourself up and win someone over." 200 reais. The gift had cost 200 reais. Roberto spent that much on a single meal at the Japanese restaurant he frequented every weekend. But the comment wasn't about money. It was about power. It was about keeping me in my place. The older brother who solved problems, but could never aspire to the same level of recognition. Lucas tugged at my shirt. "Dad, can we go?" I looked at my son, who had perfectly captured the tension in the room, and felt something break inside my chest. It wasn't anger, not yet. It was a cold and absolute clarity. For 5 years, I had accepted being treated like a second-class citizen in my own family. For 5 years, I had let them trample on my dignity in the name of family harmony. But no one, absolutely no one, was going to treat my son like trash in front of me. "Sure, champ," I said, getting up and taking his hand. "It's about time." As we walked toward the door, I heard Patricia comment to one of her friends, "He's always been a bit dramatic. He can't take a joke." A joke. Humiliating a 6-year-old was a joke. In the car, Lucas buckled his seatbelt and said, "Dad, why doesn't Aunt Patricia like me?" The question hit me like a punch in the stomach. Because how do you explain to a child that some adults are mean for no reason? How do you protect the innocence of a 6-year-old from the gratuitous cruelty of the world? "She likes you, son. She was just busy with the party." Lucas nodded, but I saw in his eyes that he didn't believe me. Children always know when they are being rejected. We drove in silence to our simple home, a 2-bedroom house in a middle-class neighborhood. It wasn't Alphaville, but it was ours. It was clean, organized, and full of love. That night, after Lucas fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with a beer and my notebook. I started doing the math. How much money I had lent Roberto over the past 5 years. How much I had spent on gifts for his children. How much I had contributed to renovations at my parents' house. The final number shocked me, 43,000 reais. 43,000 reais that I could have used to give my son a better life. To buy a bigger house, to pay for private school, to take the trips he dreamed of. 43,000 reis for a family that treated me like an inconvenient intruder. But what hurt me most wasn't the money. It was the realization that Lucas had grown up thinking it was normal to be treated as less important. That he had internalized the family hierarchy where Patricia's children were princes and he was just a tolerated extra. I closed my laptop and went to bed. But I couldn't sleep. Because for the first time in 5 years, I was planning how to completely change this dynamic. And they had no idea what was coming. Monday arrived with a message in the family group chat at 7 in the morning. It was a photo of Patricia's children at the amusement park, with the caption, "Special vacation outing for grandma's most beautiful grandchildren." Lucas was having breakfast next to me when he saw the photo on my phone. His eyes fixed on the image of the children smiling on the roller coaster, wearing new Mickey Mouse t-shirts that cost $50 each. "Dad, why doesn't Grandma invite us on trips?" he asked, stirring his chocolate milk without taking his eyes off the screen. My mother had taken Patricia's children to Disney the week before. A $15,000 trip that she financed by selling my father's retirement savings. But Lucas didn't even know they had gone. He found out at the same time I did, from the photos on Instagram. "She was busy, son," I lied, feeling the bitter taste of the words on my tongue. But the messages in the group didn't stop there. Throughout the week, photos of the perfect grandchildren at expensive restaurants, theme parks, toy stores. Each image accompanied by comments about how Roberto and Patricia were wonderful parents, how well-behaved the boys were, how close-knit the family was. Lucas saw everything. He didn't comment, but I noticed how quiet he became after each notification on his phone. On Thursday, I received a call from Roberto. It was the first time he had called me since the party. "Gab, I need to talk to you." His voice sounded serious, almost formal. "Go ahead." "Patricia is pregnant again. We're going to need some help renovating the baby's room and, well, you know how tough things are financially. 15,000 reis on a trip to Disney, a house in Alphaville, a brand new car, a Filipino maid. But it was tough financially." "How much?" I asked, already knowing it would be an absurd amount. "About 10,000. To get the room ready, an imported crib, themed wallpaper. You know how much of a perfectionist Patricia is about these things." 10,000 reis. The amount I had saved over 8 months to maybe get Lucas a PlayStation for Christmas. "I'll think about it," I replied. "Think fast, bro. The baby won't wait." When I hung up, Lucas was watching me from the kitchen table, where he was doing his homework. "It's about money again, isn't it, Dad?" His perception broke my heart. A 6-year-old shouldn't understand family dynamics, shouldn't grasp the nuances of a conversation about loans and favoritism. "How do you know?" "Because every time Uncle Roberto calls, you look sad afterward." Sad face. My 6-year-old son had already catalogued my expression of financial defeat. That night, after Lucas fell asleep, I sat on the couch with a beer and thought about how we got there. When our mother abandoned us, Roberto was only 3 years old. I became a protective older brother, almost a surrogate father. When he cried in the middle of the night, I was the one who got up to calm him down. When he had nightmares for months, I was the one who slept on the floor of his room. I protected Roberto from the pain of maternal abandonment. Maybe I protected him too much. On Friday, Patricia called me directly. This was unprecedented. In 5 years of family relationship, she had never called me personally. "Gab, hi. How are you?" Her voice was strangely sweet, almost syrupy. "Fine. Look, I know Roberto has already talked to you about our situation, but I wanted to talk to you personally. You know I've always considered you a brother, right? And now with the baby on the way." She went on for 10 minutes. It was a mixture of emotional blackmail and psychological manipulation, worthy of a manual on persuasion techniques. She talked about family, about responsibility, about how Lucas would benefit from having another little cousin. "Patricia is right," my mother called me an hour later. Obviously, they had orchestrated the operation together. "You're single, you don't have the same expenses as they do. 10,000 reis for you is not the same as 10,000 for a family with 2 children. 2 children who ate 80 real pies while my son chewed on crumbs. Mom, I have a child too." "Oh Gab, you know it's not the same thing. Boys are easier to raise. Boys are easier to raise." As if Lucas didn't have the same needs, the same dreams, the same desires as Patricia's children. On Saturday, Lucas and I went to the mall. Not to buy anything, we didn't have the money for that, but because he liked to walk around, look at the shop windows, imagine the toys he might one day have. We passed by the electronics store. Lucas stopped in front of the video games on display, his eyes glued to the screen showing a soccer game. "Dad, how much does that one cost?" "About 2,000 reis, champ." He nodded thoughtfully. "That's really expensive, isn't it?" "Yes, it is a little expensive." "That's okay. I can play at Miguel's house sometimes." Miguel, the neighbor's son, who had a PlayStation, Xbox, gaming computer, and a family that didn't have to choose between paying the electric bill or buying a toy. As we walked through the stores, my cell phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. "Hello. Gabriel? This is Marcelo, from Techno Solutions HR. We talked last week about the project manager position." Marcelo. The job interview I had had the previous Monday. A position that paid twice my current salary, with benefits, premium health insurance, and profit sharing. "Hi Marcelo. I have good news. You passed all the stages. The position is yours, if you're still interested." Lucas looked at me curiously. My face must have changed completely. "Of course I'm interested." "Perfect. Can you start next Monday?" The starting salary is 8,500, plus benefits. The total package comes to about 12,000 a month. 12,000 reis a month. Almost 3 times what I was currently earning. "You can count on me." When I hung up, Lucas tugged at my shirt. "Was it good news, Dad?" "It was very good news, champ." For the first time in months, I smiled genuinely. That night, while Lucas watched cartoons, I sat down at the computer and did the math. With the new salary, I could rent a bigger house. Put Lucas in a private school. Buy him the PlayStation he wanted. Take trips, go on outings, give him everything his cousins had. But most importantly, I could stop being the family bank. It was as if a curtain had been lifted from my eyes. For 5 years, I had convinced myself that my financial situation justified my submissive position in the family. That I lent money because I could help, that I was treated as inferior because they had more responsibilities. But the truth was simpler. They treated me badly because I allowed them to. And now, for the first time, I had a choice. Monday arrived with a different energy. I woke up at 5:30 a.m., made coffee, prepared Lucas's school uniform, and took him to daycare, humming in the car. He noticed my change in mood. "Dad, you're happy today." "I am, son. Very happy." At 8 o'clock sharp, I was at the reception desk at Techno Solutions, wearing a suit and tie, ready to start a new phase in my life. A phase where Lucas would be my absolute priority. A phase where I would no longer be anyone's doormat. During lunch on my first day at my new job, I received 3 messages on WhatsApp. Roberto, Patricia, and my mother. All demanding an answer about the loan for the baby's room. I stared at the messages for a long time. Then I typed a simple reply to the family group. "I'm not lending money to anyone anymore." The reactions came immediately. Missed calls, angry messages, long audio messages from Patricia screaming about ingratitude and selfishness. I ignored them all. Because for the first time in 5 years, I was building something for myself and my son. And they had no idea what was coming. The first few weeks at my new job were like a dream. I woke up every day full of energy, put on my suit with pride, and drove to an office where my opinion was respected, where my experience was valued. Lucas noticed the change immediately. "Dad, you're different," he said one morning as I adjusted my tie in the mirror. "Different how?" "Taller." Taller. A 6-year-old's perception of renewed confidence. With my first paycheck for my new job, I took Lucas to dinner at a restaurant we had only looked at from the outside before. He ordered a hamburger with fries and a chocolate milkshake, everything a child wants to eat when he can finally choose without thinking about the price. "Dad, can we eat here all the time now?" he asked, with ketchup on the corner of his mouth. "Whenever you want, champ." But as I was building a better life for my son, my family intensified their attacks. The messages in the family group chat became more aggressive, the calls more frequent. Roberto showed up at my old job on Wednesday. He didn't know I had left. The doorman said you don't work here anymore, he called me, confused. Where are you? I found something better. Long silence. Roberto processing the information. What kind of something better? The kind that pays well. Gab, it doesn't matter how much you're making now. Patricia is pregnant, she needs special care, imported vitamins. You're my brother, man. Brother. The word he always used when he needed money. I'm your brother when you need cash, Roberto. But where were you when Lucas got sick last month and I had to miss 3 days of work? That's different, Gab. I have a family to support. I have a family too. A child is different from. I hung up. That night, after Lucas fell asleep, I sat down at the computer with a beer and started a project I had been putting off for years, documenting everything. I created an Excel spreadsheet. Column 1, date. Column 2, amount borrowed. Column 3, promise of payment. Column 4, actual date of payment. 6 hours later, I had a complete map of my unilateral generosity. 43,000 reis in 5 years. 0 reis paid back. But it wasn't just the loans. It was the expensive gifts for Patricia's children while Lucas got used toys. It was the dinners where I always paid the bill because I was in a better situation. It was the parties where I brought expensive wine and they served 2-liter bottles of soda to my son. I printed everything out. I organized it into folders. I separated it into categories: financial, emotional, family neglect. On Friday, Patricia called me crying. Gab, please reconsider. It's not just about the money. It's about family, about unity. Patricia, when was the last time you asked how Lucas was doing? What do you mean? When was the last time you called to see if my son was okay, if he needed anything, if he was happy at school? Silence. Yeah, I figured. You're being unfair. I've always treated Lucas well. You gave him cake crumbs at a party where your kids ate $80 pies. That was. I didn't mean any harm. Of course you didn't mean any harm, Patricia. You didn't even think about him enough to mean any harm. He just doesn't exist for you. I hung up again. But the calls didn't stop. My mother started calling me every day, always with the same conversation about family responsibility and selfishness. Gab, you've changed. This new job has gone to your head. Mom, when was the last time you took Lucas out? Alone, without the other grandchildren. But Gab, the boys are little, they need supervision. Lucas is little too. It's different. He's more independent. Independent. Code 4 has a father who fends for himself. The following Saturday, I took Lucas to the new mall in town. Not the popular mall we always went to, but the one with expensive stores and fancy restaurants. I wanted him to know what it was like to be treated well. We had lunch at a Japanese restaurant. Lucas was fascinated by the colorful dishes and the way the waiter patiently explained each dish. Dad, they're nice to us here. The observation broke my heart and gave me strength at the same time. That's how it should always be, champ. While he was playing in the mall's children's area, I received a message on WhatsApp. It was from a number I didn't know. Gab, this is Doug. Can we talk? Doug. Patricia's husband, who always disappeared when the conversations got serious. Go ahead. Not on WhatsApp. In person. It's important. We set a date for Monday, at the food court of the mall near my work. He arrived 20 minutes late, nervous, looking around as if someone might be following him. Gab, I need to tell you something. Patricia, she's not pregnant. I stopped chewing my sandwich. What do you mean? She lied. To you, to your parents, to everyone. She wants the money to pay off her credit card debt. 15,000 reis in online purchases. 15,000 reis. Almost half of what I had lent her in 5 years, spent on superfluous things while my son ate crumbs. Why are you telling me this? Because it's wrong, man. The way she treats you and Lucas has always been wrong. And now she wants to lie about being pregnant to get more money. Doug showed me a photo on his phone. Patricia at the gym, doing sit-ups. The timestamp was from 3 days ago. She asked me not to tell anyone about the exercises, said it was to stay in shape during her pregnancy. Abdominal exercises during a pregnancy that didn't exist. Doug, do you have more evidence of this? I do. And Gab, it's not just the pregnancy lie. She has a secret Instagram account where she posts photos of the expensive things she buys with the money you lend her. She brags to her friends about having a brother-in-law bank. Brother-in-law bank. Doug gave me the secret Instagram username. When I got home, I created a fake profile and found the account. It was Patricia, showing off handbags, shoes, jewelry. Each post accompanied by captions about deserving it and about family helping family. The most recent photo was of her wearing a necklace that cost 3,000 reis. The caption read, "When you have family who understands your needs #blessed #family." 3,000 reis. Enough to buy 6 months of school supplies for Lucas. That night, after Lucas went to sleep, I created a digital file with everything. Instagram screenshots, photos Doug had shared, the loan spreadsheet, screenshots of all the emotionally blackmailing messages. If this story of family manipulation and discovery of lies is touching you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because the twist that is coming will show that sometimes the quietest brother is exactly the one who is watching and documenting every move. But I didn't just want to expose Patricia. I wanted something more elaborate, more educational. I wanted the whole family to understand, in a way they would never forget, what it's like to be devalued and humiliated. So I started planning something that would involve all of them. Something that would put them in exactly the position Lucas and I had been in for years, humiliated spectators at a party where others are treated like royalty. The plan began to take shape when I remembered that my father's 60th birthday was coming up. A party that the whole family would attend. A party that, traditionally, I would help organize and finance. But this time, I would be the host. And they would be the guests. With a budget I'd never had before and a plan for poetic justice they would never forget. The invitation to my father's 60th birthday party went out on a Thursday. An elegant card, textured paper, a formal invitation to an event at the most expensive club in town. Surprise party organized by the family, read the gold lettering. All children and grandchildren required to attend. Required to attend. As if I were an employee being summoned to a meeting. Lucas held the invitation and asked, "Dad, will there be real cake this time?" His question broke my heart and gave me the final push. Yes, champ. There will be real cake. What they didn't know was that I had covered the costs of the party a week earlier. A direct call to the club manager, credit card on the table, a budget of 25,000 reis for an unforgettable party. We want it to be a special night, I told the organizer. No cost limits. The best of everything. Saturday night arrived with a light rain. Lucas looked handsome in the navy blue suit we bought especially for the occasion. Leather shoes, bow tie, combed hair. You look like a prince, champ. You too, Dad. We arrived at the club at 7 o'clock sharp. The hall was decorated with imported flowers, crystal tables, uniformed waiters serving French champagne in crystal glasses. My family was already there. Roberto was wearing a suit that cost more than my old salary for 2 months. Patricia looked stunning in a red dress that I recognized from her secret Instagram account, 3,500 reis worth of Italian silk. Her children were running between the tables, already attacking the gourmet canapés that cost 80 reis per tray. Gab. My mother came over to greet me, surprised. You look different. I was wearing the most expensive suit I had ever bought in my life. 2,800 reis. Silk tie, Italian shoes, Swiss watch on my wrist. Life is good, Mom. My father hugged me, genuinely moved by the party. Son, this is incredible. You didn't have to spend so much. Don't worry about it, Dad. Tonight is your night. During the first hour, everything went normally. Emotional speeches, family photos, Lucas playing politely with his cousins while eating canapés without restriction. Patricia approached me during the cocktail hour. Gab, I need to talk to you. About that thing, you know. What thing? The baby. Our situation. I thought you were going to reconsider. I smiled. Patricia, let's talk about it later. At 8:30, I asked the Master of Ceremonies to make the main announcement of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gabriel would like to make a special announcement. I stood up, champagne glass in hand, smile on my face. Lucas watched me from the children's table, proud of his father. Dad, today you turn 60. 60 years of work, dedication, family. Applause. My father was moved. And on this special date, I would like to make some important announcements for our family. Patricia and Roberto exchanged curious glances. First, I want to thank everyone for coming. Especially Patricia, who is going through such a delicate time with her pregnancy. Patricia smiled, thinking I had changed my mind about the loan. Patricia, tell everyone, how many weeks are you? She hesitated. 12 weeks. 12 weeks. How exciting. I took my cell phone and showed a photo on the party's big screen. This photo was taken yesterday at the gym. Patricia doing intense sit-ups. Impressive flexibility for someone 3 months pregnant, don't you think? The silence in the room was absolute. Patricia turned pale. Roberto choked on his champagne. But that's not all, I continued, my voice now firmer. I want to show you some other interesting photos. The images from the secret Instagram account began to play on the big screen. Patricia wearing the $3,000 necklace, the expensive handbags, the imported shoes. Each photo accompanied by the date and value. My family, I would like you to get to know Patricia's hobby, showing off on social media with the money she gets through lies and emotional blackmail. Roberto stood up. Gab, what the hell are you doing? I'm telling the truth, brother. Something our family has forgotten how to do. I picked up a folder that was under the main table. Here I have documented 43,000 reais in loans I made to you over the last 5 years. 43,000 reais that were never paid back. Money that could have been used to give my son a better life. The photo of Lucas eating crumbs at the birthday party appeared on the big screen. While my 6-year-old son ate crumbs, you served $80 pies to your children. While I worked 60 hours a week to support your standard of living, my boy dreamed of a PlayStation that cost 2,000 reais. Money I had, but lent for the renovation of the room that never existed. My mother tried to interrupt, but I raised my hand. I'm not done yet. My voice echoed through the hall. Patricia, you called my son poor motherless boy. Roberto, you said he needed a real family. Mom, you said boys were easier to raise. Tears began to roll down my face, but my voice remained steady. Well, today you will know what it's like to be treated the way you always treated us. I signaled to the maitre d'. He approached with a tray. This is tonight's special dessert. Cake crumbs mixed with water. The same meal you offered my son at a family party. I placed the tray on their table. And now, the final surprise of the evening. The last image that appeared on the screen was a photo of the letter I found from my mother, written shortly after my birth. I don't think I'll be able to connect with this baby. I feel like I'm faking it. The silence in the room was deafening. My mother turned as white as a sheet. This letter was written by my mother 26 years ago, talking about me. About how she couldn't love me. I walked over to where Lucas was sitting, took his hand, and pulled him close to me. For 26 years, I accepted being treated like a second-class citizen in this family. I lent you money, took care of you, solved problems, always hoping that one day I would be treated with the same love and respect that Roberto received. I looked directly at each of them. But when you humiliated my son, an innocent 6-year-old child, you crossed a line that should never have been crossed. Roberto tried to speak, but I continued. As of today, I consider our family relationship to be over. The loans will not be repaid. Consider it a fee for the pain you have caused. And you will never approach my son again. I picked up one last folder. Oh, and Roberto, remember the recommendation I made for you to get your current job? His face changed color. Yesterday I spoke to my former boss, who is now the company's director. I told him about your work ethic, about how you use me financially, about the lies Patricia tells to get money. Understanding began to cross his face. Your resignation will be effective on Monday. What none of them knew was that the real final blow was yet to come. The room remained in absolute silence for several long seconds. Roberto was pale, Patricia was crying silently, my mother was staring at the floor. Gab, my father finally spoke, his voice trembling. Did you plan all this? I planned to give you exactly the same treatment you always gave me and Lucas. Didn't you like it? Lucas came up to me and whispered, "Dad, now they know how bad it is, right?" Childish intelligence. Pure and simple. Roberto tried one last card. Gab, we're family. We can work this out. Family doesn't humiliate a 6-year-old. Family doesn't lie about pregnancy to get money. Family doesn't use emotional blackmail. I took Lucas's hand and we walked toward the exit. The guests watched us in silence. At the door, I turned around one last time. The party is paid for. Enjoy the crumbs. 3 months later, Roberto was fired as promised. Patricia had to sell her expensive handbags to pay the bills. My mother called me twice to apologize. I didn't answer. Lucas and I moved into a house with a pool. He has his PlayStation, his private school, his weekends at amusement parks. "Dad," he said the other day, "do you think one day they'll really apologize?" "Maybe, champ. But we don't have to wait for that to be happy." The sweetest revenge wasn't destroying them. It was building a life where they simply don't matter anymore. Today Lucas is 9 years old. When someone asks about his grandparents, he replies, "My dad is my whole family." And he's right. If this story of a father who chose his son's dignity over family convenience touched you, subscribe to the channel for more stories of people who decided to stop accepting crumbs and start demanding the full banquet. Because sometimes, the best revenge is simply to live far away from those who never knew how to value what they had.